Moderate this little panel this afternoon. So again, my name is Aaron Sigmund. I'm actually the author of Arturo Fuente since 1912, and I'm supposed to introduce Carlito Fuente Jr., but if you watch David Letterman's show, he is a man who needs no introduction. And David?
Hello everybody, I'm David Savon. I'm the executive editor of Cigar Dominicano. I'm pleased to be co-moderating this power discussion with two of the most powerful and awesome and decorated cigar makers in the world. This is a true honor, and I'm here to introduce Litto Gómez. So I will begin by introducing Litto, a man I've known for, I've got all 30 years that I've worked for Cigar Dominicano. I was at his cigar factory yesterday. He was the president of PROCIGAR. He was the co-founder, co-owner, master blender of the Flor Dominicana. He's a man who takes risks, it changes up the dynamic, and I think you all know who he is. Let's have a big hand for Litto Gómez.
David did so much better than I did. I didn't do good enough. I know, it was me. I too was a lot more today. What can we say about Carlito Fuente that has not been said or been written? He's the maestro, you know. Portable cigars in the Dominican Republic exist because of him, and that is a historic fact.
The gun maker.
That's it, the toy maker. So this is going to be very informal, I think, all things considered. People can ask questions. It's supposed to be a power dynamic, but I don't think there's really any of that going on there. If there's anything you guys want to know, throw it at us. You let us. So.
The speaker can have a little.
To start, okay?
By all means.
So imagine a guy that never made cigars before, came to the Dominican Republic to open a cigar factory without knowing shit about making cigars. I was a cigar smoker just like every one of you. Okay. Come to the Dominican Republic. But before I came to the Dominican Republic, I was reading every book, every magazine, everything about cigars. And guess what? And everything I read, the biggest name of all was Carlito Fuente. And he rapidly became my hero. I'm not restrictions in saying that. He was my hero, still my hero. And I come to the Dominican Republic, and it wasn't even 1 year before. He called me and invited me to dinner one day because of a situation. And we went to dinner. I gave him my heart, he gave me his heart. We never looked back. So, what a fucking honor to meet to a guy that just starts in a country, in a strange country, that the hero happens to like me. I gave him my heart. So that was my beginning here in the Dominican Republic. And Carlito, thank you. I'll be thankful forever.
Thank you, Litto. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I'm not much older than you. I know you remind me often. But I'm going to remind you the first time that I met you. I was sitting in row 6E, and you were sitting in 3. I think you like to get off the plane first, or maybe that's the last seat that's left because you never come on time to get on the plane. my only comfort was when I used to get to American Airlines 45 minutes before the flight. They go, no, we're holding the door. Litto hasn't gotten here yet either. The difference is I flew with all these bags and everything, and he's a pro. He had his home in Miami. He didn't have the issues that I had. But I remember the first time I met him. I was sitting in 6E, and he was sitting in the 3rd row. American Airlines were coming from Miami. And in one of those moments, I didn't know who he was. He was dressed sharp as hell. People don't dress like that, really, but he was dressed sharp. And I remember because I'm an Elvis fan, and he had a jump, I don't know, was it jumpsuit or what they called them at those times. It was like a light pastel green, but he had a shirt underneath with a big collar. I kept saying, man, this guy's a celebrity or something. He was sitting in the front, very good looking. And I remember that he comes up to me, well, somebody saw him go to the men's room and everything, which at my age I have to do often. And he comes to me and he says, my name is Litto Gómez. I'm from Republica Dominicana. And I said, Litto, I remember I mentioned my name. I said, wait a minute, you and I could never be friends. You're counterfeiting cigars. Because I was a founder of PROCIGAR. And PROCIGAR was blocking Litto Gómez, so he could not make cigars in the Dominican Republic. And I said, I cannot be your friend. Because we have a code of honor that we protect our country. And it's through someone who's very special to me, Juanito Sosa, who you took under your arm when he was betrayed and everything was taken away from him. And you helped, and Juanito then ended up with me. And he says, you have to meet Litto. He's an honorable man and so forth. And come to his house, he's the elder chef. And I remember you cooked that night, and we broke bread and this and that, and we became friends ever since. So much so that when my children were very young, we used to get together and go in Miami to restaurants with your beautiful wife, Inez. We were good friends. And I believe very strongly that if there's not new blood in this industry, if we don't protect the opportunity for young people to come in, there's no future. He was new blood, and he's one of the ones that not only survived, but built one of the greatest brands in the Dominican Republic. I believe in him, and look where he's at today, representing us all, the president of PROCIGAR. I'm honored.
Truth to be told, and back in those days, I'm a guy from Miami, right? So I'm dressing in Gianni Versace shirts, gold chains in my neck.
I was a big Versace fan.
I know. So
And we almost had a cigar club at the Versace Mansion. We almost, that was my dream.
I was a big Versace fan. I was. I love all the crazy stuff and all the angles and all the colors. And that was the inspiration of the house that I built, was Versace. And we, because I know we're talking about dressing. Bro, those Versace ties and everything, I don't know, I had the BALLS to wear those things so colorful and designed with shit. But hey, those were good old days, man. Good old days. Going to Miami Beach, to paparazzi, the live music. Yeah, we had great times together.
So there was Miami back in those days, there was a lot of drug dealers and shit. Miami pretty much live out of drug trafficking.
Let me ask you a
So
question. Were you counterfeiting cigars or not?
I've never counterfeited cigars, ever.
I never asked you.
You should have, okay? You know what? Carlito and I, we weren't in battles, we were in wars together.
Yeah, we were in wars.
We were really bad wars together, okay? Our policy, if I walk into a room and I see Carlito in trouble, I shoot first, and then I ask questions. And Carlito will shoot first, and then we'll ask questions. You first shoot and say, Litto, what do you do? And I'll do the same. And that's the kind of trust that we have. But, there was a lot of stories about me. There was this guy with Gianni Versace shirts and gold chains coming from Miami. Didn't fit the profile of a cigar maker for sure. So, a lot lot of stories came about me, okay? And I was just a poor guy. I was broke. And I had a little hole in the wall that I called the factory in Villa Los Angeles. And I was trying to make a living, and then there was a lot of stories about me. And, obviously they were not true. Some of the stories were, okay, somebody's counterfeiting cigars here. It couldn't be Carbonell, it couldn't be Colchi Blanco, it couldn't be whoever. It had to be these new guys from Miami, right? So that was the accusation until, one day I show up at a PROCIGAR meeting with a box of cigars that we make from our brand, and I asked, who's accusing me of what and why? And what are the proofs? And I was told that, the story that by order of elimination I was a counterfeiting. And then I got pretty pissed, and I said, thank you for your time. We make, Los Libertadores cigars, and this is what we make. My factory is open, and I'm trying to make a living just like every one of you. And I don't think it was foul play. It was just people being worried, people that protect the industry, about this new guy that that's coming to our town to make cigars, because it never happened before. I think it was all traditional families making cigars here in Carlito. And so after that presentation, I was shitting my pants because I was in front of all these great cigar makers, okay, trying to explain that I was not a crook. And I don't know how he got my phone number, but the next day, this guy calls me and invites me to dinner.
Thank you. I invited you to dinner, but I was hoping that you would say, come to my house, I'll cook for you. Yeah, no, there's a lot of memories. But, Litto, one thing when you start, you have all this experience in life, and in the last couple of days and with people speaking, I really believe that if you don't document history, somebody's going to come by and they're going to change it. My father had words, and I think David Savona is here. I don't even know if he was around when they wanted to interview my father. There was no way he was going to be interviewed. He didn't believe in that. He told me, this is my father's words, okay? It means a lot. I said, Dad, did you see this? Did you see this? What they said? What the press is saying? He says, Carlito, and no offense to anybody, but this is the way my father taught me. Carlito, paper holds all the shit you put on it. Go to the floor, go to the factory, find out how many bad cigars we're making. Don't spend your time looking at those things. And my father never wanted to do an interview, and he insisted that I had to sit next to him. And I remember with Gordon and so forth, he just was that kind of person. But as you move along in life, you will recognize stories like Litto's, who was a jeweler, that he was robbed with a weapon. Didn't know, I've heard the story, if that was going to be the last day of his life. And he loved cigars, and he said, this is time for me. And he came to the Dominican Republic. And these are stories that have to be told, and they have to be documented. Because look at all his contributions. Look at what he has contributed to our great industry. Look at all the love and all the friendships that he has shared throughout his life. And I think that really is our job one. I've said many times, and you've heard me, and I believe this, I've come to learn this with many, many, many decades of my life. And we don't sell cigars, we sell love. We bring people together. We are blessed to be in an industry that we make a product that people enjoy, that bring people together, friendships. In an industry unlike many, that we're colleagues, but more than that, we're family. That's very, very rare. And There's a gentleman that could testify to that, sitting there lighting a cigar. I don't know if you can hear this distance or not. But I love him. Aaron Newman, who is also someone very close to me, my business partner. But seriously, folks, it's what it's all about. We are here because we all enjoy something, we have something in common, and what's more beautiful in life. And one thing I want to point out, what I want to recognize, we're living the best moments of the cigar industry.
Yeah.
The best. The best. The best moments. Because I remember growing up with my grandmother, my mother, my tias, my aunts, my godmother, everybody working in the factory, all the women making the coffee, making sure the tobacco was selected were women. But I also remember growing up when it was taboo for a woman to go to a place where men smoked cigars. Sadly, my grandfather didn't see this. My father saw very little, thanks to the big smoke at the very end. It's going to be 10 years in a couple of months. That's scary. 10 years. How I survived. Don't know. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Thank you. 10 years. The best thing that's happened to the industry is that women are enjoying cigars. Women, because I want to go to a lounge, not with 4 or 5 or 10 or 12 300-pounders with Tommy Bahama shirts with burn holes all over the shirt and Stinky's ashtray with 40 cigars that have been there for a week. I want to go to a cigar lounge where women are there so I can go and have a conversation with them. I think that was sort of or anything else but honest.
I'll start with a question. Is that the two of you have so much in common, and one of the things I think that sets you apart as special cigar makers is not so much just how you make cigars, but the fact that the two of you are not only cigar makers but tobacco farmers. I was at your farm yesterday, Litto. Carlito Fuente was the first tobacco farm I ever visited back in the 1990s. The gentleman, question to the two of you, tell me about the importance of having your own tobacco farm and how that defines who you are as a cigar maker.
I remember Carlito Fuente, Carlito farm. It was out of limits for everyone. Nobody could walk in that farm. It was a total secret because Carlito was growing properly. He put his balls on the line with his father, with his family, and tried to do what nobody did before. And that farm was to move. Nobody could go there. People would talk a lot of shit about it, okay? But nobody would see the farm. Nobody was allowed to walk on the farm. Carlito didn't even talk about the farm. And I had the pleasure, this guy was taking me to his farm. And I couldn't keep a plant alive for my house. And now I get excited, I get motivated, I see what this guy is doing. And I said, my God, how do I become a farmer one day? And he was taking me every time he was going, he said, Litto, what are you doing? Are you busy? Yeah, I'm busy. No, I can't go with you because I was expected to a farm. No. Next day, a few days later, he called me, Litto, let's go to a farm. Here you go. I don't know where I go. Soldier, report your position. That's how he called me. Report your position, okay? And he takes me to a farm. And I see this like way beyond any standard that I have seen before of farming. I say, shit, look at this thing. And you know what? And I say, I'm going to become a farmer one day. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to become a farmer. And the philosophy was there. I knew what he was doing. Where is a factory without a cigar, without farming your own tobacco? If you don't farm, unless you farm your own tobacco and you put those seeds on the ground and you watch them grow, you don't know where the tobacco that you're going to use at your factory is coming from. So how do you guarantee the consistency of the cigars that you're going to send to consumers that love that cigar? How are you going to maintain the consistency if you don't grow those tobaccos from seeds and you know where they're coming from? They come from your farm. You can't blame anybody for anything. You put those seeds in the ground and they grow and you harvest that tobacco and you ferment it the way you want to ferment it. And you age it the way you want to age it. It's your tobacco. It came from its virgin when it got to the factory. And you made it the way you want to make it. Nobody touched it before. It's only you. And it's only your factory. And that is the only guarantee that we have to keep our product consistent. Because if you like our product one day, you need to be able to like it for the rest of your life.
True.
Because this is what it's all about. Consistency and the guarantee of the product, a good quality product. And that's where the farm. It is important. It's a big deal. And finally I did buy a farm. And we started farming tobacco. And I had a lot to learn. And I've been learning every year. Because when we make a mistake, we fuck up. We have to wait until next year for the next crop. Because we don't get a second chance. We have to wait a year. And this is not an easy thing. It takes a lot of work. And it takes a lot of guts. But that's the only thing that guarantees the consistency of our product. And my friend, you were my inspiration for that.
Thank you. Thank you. But just to me, I'm doubly grateful because, you know, if you plant seeds and the seeds produce flowers and those flowers end up in other people's hands, those seeds, and they keep reproducing like you're doing, because how many people have you taught your passion? How many people have been in your life that tomorrow, once you grow tobacco, to learn through you, to understand tobacco through you? Farming to me is like, I'm a chef. We don't blend liquids, we're not winemakers. We're in the agricultural world, yes, but we don't, listen, there's tens of thousands of people who make wines. There's a couple of handfuls, maybe now, or just one handful or two handfuls of people that are real tobacco people. Cigar manufacturers. There's a reason why. We blend solids. We're like chefs. A little bit of parsley, a little oregano, a little bit of garlic. We blend solids. You grow wines, you get the juice, you ferment the grape juice, you get something, you mix it together, it's liquid, it becomes uniform. With cigars, it's like you going to your favorite restaurant. I don't care what you're gonna order, but why do you go back? Because if you order a porterhouse steak, it's cooked with the same temperature, the same cut, the same flavor. If you order pasta, it's gotta have the same consistency, and if you order sushi, it's got to be the same and everything fresh. And if you order sea bass, each one is cooked differently. Solids. A chef understands that. And I consider we're chefs. And when you have your own garden, you're growing your own sun-ripened tomatoes. And he's absolutely right. But one thing I've learned over time, why is it important? Because you never stop learning. And I'm happy you said that. Because I have so much more to learn. And I keep learning with seeds, how important it is to develop your seeds, to pick the seed. It's genetic. It's like raising animals. If you're raising purebreds, you look at these things. But also the most important thing, I don't care how big it grows, because if you grow tobacco commercially, you're growing size because you sell it by the pound. We grow tobacco that we eat ourselves. We grow it for ourselves. We grow it for taste. And this is an ongoing romance. It's a love affair. And the more you accomplish, the more you realize there's so much more that has to be done. I'm very proud of people. Again, I'm going to say one more thing to tell you how close and how much I respected you and how I felt that you were an underdog fighting against Goliath. The original Flor Dominicana, that flower, that photo, is a flower from Chateau de la Fuente. Right or wrong? I think that says it all.
All right, next question.
And I never asked for royalty or anything.
Checks in the mail. I'm going to change direction a little bit here. Carlito is a founding member of PROCIGAR. Litto is the current president of PROCIGAR. We are all here because of the PROCIGAR Festival. But I thought maybe we'd touch upon what PROCIGAR does when they're not throwing a festival, what it means, what cigars mean to the Dominican Republic, and what this organization actually does beyond celebrating cigars in the Dominican.
Thanks for the question. There was a lot of things that our industry needs. We need to advance a lot. We are way back in time. Just because of the tobacco infrastructure, the farming infrastructure in the Dominican Republic. So it was a lot of things that we need as an industry to make the industry better in the Dominican Republic. So I owe so much to this country that I have an obligation to give something back. I did well for myself. I was blessed, I was lucky, I was done well. I did well for myself and my family. But if I go through my life just taking care of myself, then what did I come to this world for? When I leave this world, I want this world to be better than when I came in. I want to make a difference. So there comes a time in which, okay, you did well for yourself. Well, now you're going to do work for the common good. So when I leave this industry needs to be better than when I came in. Otherwise, I just came to make money for myself. I came to pollute. I came to share and pee and just take care of me? No. And my family? No. I need to do something for our industry. We need the things. We need agronomists that come out of the university, agricultural university, that know how to specialize in growing tobacco. This is a tobacco country. The biggest income of money for this country comes from tobacco. And we don't have agronomists that are specialized in tobacco. So we created a course for specializing in tobacco with the Institute of Agriculture here. But then, the students have to pay $2,000 when they finish their careers to do this specialized. Students don't have $2,000. And guess what? Last night, I'm sitting next to the president of the country, and I have his ears. And I say, Mr. President, we have this issue. Students have to pay $2,000 to specialize in tobacco, but the Ministry of Education has a lot of money. Can we pay for this from these guys? Because he turns to the Minister of Industry and Commerce and says, make sure that happens.
That's a good deal.
Because we need them. The future of our industry needs them. We need a school of rollers. Because we need new blood coming in. We need rollers. Why? Because, if the rollers that we have think they're the only ones in town, they get nasty. They get the wrong attitude. But once you start producing cigar rollers, now they're going to protect their work. They're going to work with a different energy. They're going to really understand that they have a great job. And we're creating new people for even the school of the government here. They even require that the students for rolling cigars, they have to have an academic level. I say, what? No, why? Why? So you got a guy that has no education, that will probably be a criminal at some point. So now you see him on a school of rolling cigars. He's going to learn a craft. That guy that could have been a criminal, now he's going to have a great job rolling cigars. And he's going to be proud of it. Why do you want to require an education for that? This is a craft. This is made with your hands. You don't need your head. You don't need mathematics to make cigars. You just need a good ability with your hands. And learn to do the whole way, the right way. And that's stuff that we needed. And there's a lot more stuff that we're doing for the industry. I want to bring the big tobacco growers to the Dominican Republic. And guess what? If everything stays like this, the way it is, I shine, Carlito shine. And I want to make it better. I want to make everybody at the whole industry better. And I want to compete with that. And I want the big growers to come here and grow tobacco. And I told the president yesterday, Carlito, you know, that guy sitting over there, David Perez, he's the best grower in the world. I want to bring him to the Dominican Republic. Carlito, we need that shit. He says, wait. He says, but
Let me take this away because he is the best grower. No, he's not in the Dominican Republic, yes, but yes, he is in the Dominican Republic. And David Perez, this is why we talk about history and everything. I go back to his grandfather. Okay, it's scary, huh? David was a little baby. I go back to his grandfather. I remember we were in the 1970s in Nicaragua, a factory was burned down. When his grandfather came back, Silvio Perez, the first crop of Nicaraguan tobacco we bought because we left Nicaragua, but we never left Nicaragua. But Litto, you mentioned about you want to leave this world better than when you arrived. You've already engraved history in the world of Dominican cigars. And as far as PROCIGAR is an association, non-profit, to give to the community. Just this year, someone who's been with us 30-something years, Ciro showed me a photo. He was given a house through the monies that are raised in these events that we do at PROCIGAR. And we change the different companies every year from the money the nonprofit is raised. PROCIGAR does so much, and he's absolutely right. For the first, I'm not going to say the first time, every government since I've been here in 1980 always says they want to do something that, of course, how important, because I want to say something. There was only one hotel in Santiago not long ago. It was built by the cigar industry. Without the cigar industry, that hotel would have never survived. And Santiago was built by the cigar industry. Tobacco is our culture. When the Europeans were looking for riches and gold and everything, and they landed here in the island of Hispaniola, it was tobacco that they discovered. It was used for three main reasons. Like right now, socially, for medicine, a lot of people understand, for medicine, toothaches, cuts, everything you can imagine, headaches. But most importantly, which is part of my oral lessons from my grandfather, tobacco is religious, it's spiritual. Tobacco is what the natives in these islands used to connect to their ancestors and their gods, because the smoke goes to heaven. That's why earlier today I mentioned that, because that's what was taught. Litto PROCIGAR does so much. It's very important. This is what PROCIGAR is doing. We need to develop professional agronomists, professional people to come into this country. We had the movement that we never had before in this industry. I'm glad to be here, to live it. We have the government like never before supporting this industry. When have you heard of the President of the Dominican Republic to come to a cigar event? He did it last year. He did it again. And we have a gentleman named Litto Gómez, who was constantly in Washington fighting for the industry. So much so that Congress declared that tobacco was part of patrimonio of the Dominican Republic. We are living our best moments. And this vision like yours and hopes like mine that we could make a difference when we move on to another world.
Yeah.
We will. I promise you we will.
And we have. Let's do a little bit of history, Carlito. Back in the 90s, there was a cigar boom in the United States. Consumption went double in 1 year. No cigar industry, no cigar factory can supply that demand. It was just crazy. I mean, it was like over 100 factories that opened in Santiago, Carlito.
I still haven't recovered from the scars.
I remember, Carlito and I, somebody stole 10 rollers from a friend of us. And the friend called us. Carlito and I were going to this factory. Ask for the owner.
Take them out! Come on, buddy, you
I
can't.
said, you know, you have a list of names here. You stole from this factory. You need to get them out.
No, growing up, I watched too much of Three Musketeers and all these things, Robin Hood, and I felt like we used to fight for the little guy. There were so many little guys and everything. When we found out, they used to come to us. Right? I remember that.
Yeah. So we go to the factory, the owner would come and say, you gotta get these guys out. You took it from so and so. The guy said, no, I'm not gonna do that. So Carlito goes, you know who I am? I was unknown back then. Carlito, you know who I am? Yeah, yes sir, I know who you are. Well, if you don't get those guys out, I'm gonna open a cigar factory right here in front of you. I'm gonna take all your employees and I'm gonna put you out of business.
We did that to everyone.
They started opening all these satellite factories in Tamborí. Remember Tamborí, what's the name of it? Tamborí, Villa, that's where our cigar makers live. And I remember, we thought, listen, that was what, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was younger. I was a rock and roller. I was a revolutionist. And I believe I'm right. And I was a little guy. One, a little wooden house with a tin roof, with roosters running all through the yard, and chickens and everything. I never forget where I come from. And I had an opportunity. And I got to meet people from all over the world, from every walk of life. And they become my friends. Because I was born in a little wooden house with a tin roof. They make cigars there. And I believe in giving that, whoever it is, male, female, young or old, that they have the same opportunity that I had. And I will fight to my last day to protect the little ones and protect the retailers, which you do also. Don't forget the family business. I believe in protecting the mom and pops, the brick and mortar. That is the fiber of a built civilization. There was nothing like going into a pharmacy and you know the pharmacist and this and that and whatever it is, and he would mix something for you. That was my father's time. But I used to go with him. Or going to a hardware store and knowing exactly, what it is, or your barber, those days of that personal contact, everything's becoming an SKU. It's like going to Apple, what do you call it, Amazon? I'm sure that I don't know. Amazon or going to Home Depot is this. We cannot lose that as our industry. What brought us here, what took us to the dance, and what's kept us dancing is we're families and we care. And if we're talking philosophy now, but if you care that much about people,
You're going to care like hell about the products you make because you know that's the product that's going to make those people happy. So it's all connected. And it's, again, I believe in the little one. I believe in the young one with a dream. Because I was that young one once. I had that dream, and I'm living my dream. Wow. And I don't want to take that away from anybody else.
So, you both have talked a lot about the future. You both have talked a lot about family. I think it is reasonable to acknowledge that Carlos III, Litto Jr., and Tony are here, which are the next generations of these families. And I think they deserve a big round of applause. Litto, why don't you, I know Carlito will jump in, so I don't have to prompt him. Why don't you talk to him about what it means to be the first generation?
Get pushed off the field, man. I got to jump back in.
We're doing so well, too. I said rock.
Before I get into that, I remember one day when I got a call from Don Carlos. And he goes, Litto, I need to see you in my factory. He didn't sound very happy, like he wasn't happy at all. I said, sure, what happened there? So I go there, and Carlito's there, and I get there, and Don Carlos says, you guys are going around to cigar factories and telling the people to leave your workers out? What the fuck you guys think you're doing? You think you're a mafia, guys?
We did.
That's good to show.
I grew up in New York City, so I know.
The next generation.
Wait. We did well. Wait a minute, we did well. We did well. We had this big force of this organization. We lost almost 500 cigar makers within a year and a half in the very beginning. We were the only one making shaped cigars. Okay, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. But it was a battle for life, in a sense, so we would lose our business. And we did some crazy things. We did some great things. And I didn't know that story with my father, man. I didn't know that story. But yeah, we did. No, you know, I wouldn't do that today. Today I would send him to do it for me. No, but you know what? You think about that, and we were really going through a tough time. It was a matter of survival. And so much so, I don't know if they know the story. And I don't know, but I remember what I said, if you don't document the story, but they don't have the balls to write it. They're fake news. Wow. If you don't know the story, if you don't document, someone's going to change it. But you remember we started our own Contra revolution, our own association, and we used to meet clandestino in the restaurant hood in the basement, and we started, and we put in our board of directors the most feared criminals. I don't want to say criminals, but they were the burn tires and revolutionists and everything, and people that, what was Kevin Doyle? That he came to destroy the industry and all this stuff. The pirate. He was nicknamed the pirate. So he said, how are we going to survive? We had all these people who had nothing to lose, and and I thought, you know what? I learned this in history. The United States of America, what do? Your allies, the one that checkmate, don't move from here and there. And I remember those meetings, and we're not going to go and pinpoint any names or anything. But I remember one call to my father, because my father, I would never have accomplished anything in my life that wasn't for the support of my father. He just let me do what I wanted and gave me support, whatever it needed. And we started this organization. And I remember my father got a call from somebody very, very respected in the industry. And they were complaining about this little boy who was starting all this stuff and whatever with Litto and Hochi Blanco, who people didn't know at that time. We made him the president, remember? We had the whole thing. And Karateka was the secretary and treasurer, whatever we had. Okay. Slim, remember everybody.
But anyway, this personality, Kevin Doyle, used to walk in with shorts, big ponytail, and two girls with high heels and mini skirts that looked like this. He looked like, woo! You know, the wrestler, Ric Flair, coming into the events and everything, but everybody feared him. Anyway, my father got a call, and my father said, "Amar la perra, tu perra o eso está los perros." No te metas conmigo. I don't know in Spanish, but I'm not going to repeat it, but that was my father, and that's exactly what happened. We sent all these pirates, all these people, go out and go after and get every cigar maker. It got so bad that they put the white flag up, no more, no mas, no mas. And since then, the industry has been in peace.
I'm going to go into the next generation, but there was a thing. Our industry is under attack, continuously under attack. Governments, associations, agencies, taxes, everybody attacks the cigar industry. And one day, we got really scared because we were really getting hit badly with the S-chip. First one, that S-chip wake us up. That was a wake-up call. And so we formed this organization, Cigar Rights of America. And we fought a lot of battles, a lot of really, really serious battles. And if we didn't do that, this industry today would have been a different industry. It would have been a fucked up industry pretty much. Almost in ruins.
40% of the manufacturers have been gone.
Yeah. And it was ugly. It was screaming. It was backwards. Almost physical fights to that point. And the group that we formed has changed the industry. The Alliance. And there was three guys. It was Jorge Padron, it was Carlito Fuente, it was myself. And whenever we take a position, nobody goes against it. That was an alliance. This is an alliance. A powerful alliance. And I told you guys one day, we were in Las Vegas, you were having drinks, and I told you, you need this alliance. You need to keep this alliance. Because the war is never going to end. It's not going to end. You're always going to be, you, the next generation. It's always going to be under attack. It's not going to end. So that's why it's so important. And let me tell you one thing. I was first generation. And I will look at these guys. I look at Jorge Padron. I look at Carlito. Second generations from crazy car makers. And events, big smokes, seminars. And I'm looking at these guys and I'm saying, man, that's fucking cool. And then, just keep working and keep working and keep working because I didn't have a goal, I didn't have a place where I wanted to go. I'm still chasing that guy, I'm still chasing it because I really don't know where I'm going. All I know is I have to work very hard every day and beat myself every day. Be better than the day before, every fucking day. To build something. And then, you build something, and then companies come and say, we want to buy your company. They're what? So I said, well, my company is not for sale. What? Okay, why? You don't like money? No. I love money. Everybody does. But guess what? I built my company for my family. I built this company for the next generation. Because what I didn't have, I want my kids to have. I want them to be the second generation. And I want them to keep going and more generations ahead because this is how the industry, this is how the cigar industry was built on it was built on generations, it was built on families that had generations. Eric, you know that? I love your father. He gave me so much history. I never had enough time with him to listen about the history of cigars. And this is what the cigar industry is about. It's about family, it's about generations. And everybody says that, tobacco is bad for you and shit. We know it's not. How will I get my children to get into an industry that is bad? I can name you 20 people out of the top of my head right now that live over 90 years, smoking 12 cigars a day for 75 years, and they all live over 90. Beautiful, healthy lives they live. How old was your dad when he died? Working, Eric. How old was your dad when he died? Was
90.
90? That's one of them. Right? This is what it is. We make cigars. The product that we make is for people to have a good time, a special time. Doesn't matter if they're alone, reflecting on their day or their week, or they're with friends, or they're with people that never met before, but they got into conversation. Because that's our magic. People that smoke cigars talk to each other. Even if they don't know who they are. And they don't give a shit if they're wealthy or they're poor. They just talk to each other. And that's what we do. And we're proud, very, very proud of what we do, of being cigar makers, and bringing joy to the people around the world. And the families and the generations will continue forever. And I want to see that happen. David, sorry.
Well, probably the little bit of time we have left, maybe we could open up the floor. We have some questions from the audience. Anyone have any questions for these two incredible cigar makers? Maybe raise your hand and Jay.
I've done this before, but always I was on stage, but now I know what they do, so I'm in the audience.
So I think this is actually a question for Carlito and for everyone. Lito's in a unique position. He is the first generation. What are some of the lessons that you learned from your father, Stanford Newman, and you learned from Carlos Fuente Sr. that you can share with Litto to share with his children, and you're going to share with your children for the next generation?
That's a great question, Jay Davis. I'll come back tomorrow and answer it. I'm AOC now. I should say, I got the answer, but let me study it first, okay? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. Litto has skipped a generation as far as I see. He says first generation everything. But what he's done with his two sons, they're involved, they're amazing. It doesn't happen, it didn't happen in my lifetime. It took, since 1972, I've been full-time. I remember my first RTDA was at the Stanton Hilton, New York City, 1972. Malcolm Fletcher was the president. I don't know where I put my cell phone. Wait a minute. But I remember everything, and I don't forget. It's important. I can speak about my father, what he taught me, the examples. But I'm not only my father, I can't speak about him unless I speak about my mother, because I'm part of her also. And what did my father teach me? Never leave a bill or responsibility unpaid. Your honor is your greatest asset. Your integrity, your word. That's what my father taught me. And he also taught me not by words, but by example, watching him. Today still, I remember my father never told me, do this, do that. I used to walk by him, he says, Carlito, if this would ever happen to me, this is what I would do. My God, he's gone for almost 10 years. 3 years later, and all this stuff right after, during COVID and all this stuff and all this transformation, I just lost the strongest pillar of our temple. And I'm walking, I'm seeing things, and I hear my father's voice. Carlito, if this ever would happen to me, this is what I would do. That's happening to me right there. My father's never left me. I owe him everything. He gave me support. But I can't speak about him without mentioning my mother. Because a lot that you see around me in my life was the tender, loving care of my mother. Anna Lopez. I'm her son also. But yes, my father has left me so much. And I expect the same thing that you would never forget. Neither one of you. I'm going to just tell you that. That's my greatest wish in life. Don't forget where you come from. Don't forget. They all doing very well. Don't forget where you come from. Don't forget the sacrifice of your grandfathers, of your great-grandfathers. Don't forget the sacrifice of everybody who supported through not only celebrations, but through pain and sacrifice, the Cuban embargo, where it was the end of the cigar industry to survive. Going to countries that people in places you never imagined you were going to go. Nicaragua, Honduras. Coming here in 1980, when if you were in a Honda 50 or 160, those were panty droppers, okay? That was, yeah. I had a Datsun 120, the yellow car at the factory. And I remember I never wore a long sleeve shirt. I used to wear those tight t-shirts and then press that. Oh, I had my days here. But that is what's most important. Don't forget where you come from. And don't forget your origins. And don't forget, it's not about cigars, it's about the people.
Any other questions? It's a big room, and it's a unique opportunity. Michelle.
Thank you, Jay. I'm not going to be able to see them, so I'm sorry. No.
Thank you, Carlito and Leo. Thank you guys so much. As a consumer, because there's lots of consumers in here, and industry professionals, how can we help you in this new generation to continue what PROCIGAR is doing and also as an industry?
Oh, nice.
You get away with that when you get this age, okay?
Michelle, that's a very nice question. And people like you, that go public to tell the stories of what we do are the most important thing for us. You guys, your books, your magazine, your social media, you guys you're not cigar smokers, you're way more than that. You're the people that take our stories to the public that don't know them, that they enjoy cigars, but they don't know our stories. You are the people that make us shine. We make cigars. But if it wasn't because of you guys taking the stories to the public, we would just be anonymous cigar makers. So, yeah, you're already doing it, Michelle. You're already doing it. Thank you so much. You guys are doing it. Thank you.
That's why I gave her the microphone. Because that's exactly true. What you're doing, Michelle, what you have been doing for a long time, you're doing it out of passion. Each and every one. How could you support PROCIGAR? How could you support? No. PROCIGAR is not supporting PROCIGAR. You're here because of cigars. This is one of the most, I think it is the most sophisticated cigar festival in the world, PROCIGAR. without question. It's done with so much class, so much elegance. We have the facility, we have the hotel, we have the airline flights. It is nothing against my dear friends, okay? But you don't have to go like 3 hours on this highway to get where tobacco is grown. This is the Dubai of the Caribbean. It is. This is a beautiful island, a beautiful country, where the possibilities are now being discovered. Because it was a country that was isolated for many political and economic reasons. What you're doing, what everyone's doing, posting, Instagram, the power, the media, this, sharing the love. You're an ambassador already. And that's, what more could you do? We're very grateful for that. And we recognize it and we see it. I see it all the time. I don't sleep at night watching. I don't want to miss anybody. And you're doing it already. I want you to know that. Continue doing it, please. God bless you.
Thank you.
We have one more question. Oh, we have a question over here. Aaron's coming to you.
I got a second. Hold on 1 second.
Look. I just wanted to add to what the guys just said. I believe that education is a big factor in this industry. I'm a master cigar sommelier. I travel the world teaching classes from 101 to certifications. And like Michelle said, I'm Randy Rivera. The key for me is education. There's so many people in the field, right, that I personally have pushed for education for cigars. I'm the co-owner and founder of the Monarch Society in New York City, which is a all-women's smoking society. And with that society, we do the education part. I really think that education in the cigar industry is key. And I don't say it because I'm a sommelier and teach, but just in different areas, even people in the factory, you know, and I say this not because I know Carlito, Litto, and all these people. I go to all different festivals, I've been to all the countries that does cigars. Hands down, the most proud workers that I've ever seen is from the Dominican Republic. So can you imagine that you take someone that has no education, that came up in the field, that his dad, because in the factories, your father worked in the factory, your mother, you did, you know, generational. There's generational people that work in the factories. Imagine giving them an education, a history behind it. You're just empowering your people, which empowers your product, which empowers the country as well. I just, like I said, I'm very big into education, and I feel that education is the key in the cigar industry.
One last question. Does anyone have another question? Oh, yeah?
I just want to say, I agree. Education is everything. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Cigar Family Charitable Foundation. How you can change the world one child at a time. It's there for you to see. Education is everything. We have dedicated more resources to educating the people in the factory with human resources and everything we do. Because education is everything. And I can tell you one thing. The reason I'm so proud when I walk in the factory, because I'm the hero of Fotos that was in the Dominican Republic in 1980 when I came. People were in flip-flops, handing down clothes, begging for work for 28 pesos a week. The lines used to, from the entrance of our factory to the entrance. Now we have to go to universities and try to romance people or go places to try to see if they want to come in the cigar industry. To me, that is one of the most satisfying I'm telling you what, I just think about those moments when people used to eat rice floors of the factory, sitting down with a styrofoam thing. And to know 40 years later, or 43 or whatever it is, they got newer iPhones than I do, and they got better Nikes or more collectible Nikes than Michael Jordan. Education is everything. Education. We have to invest in education. The more educated you are, the better cigar you can make. But education doesn't have to be formal education. And I think Litto was speaking about that. We educate them in the factory, and you educate them being open, being honest, giving them reasons, and explaining with tender, loving care, like a mother with a child, and you could educate them. And today I walked through my factory and I said, I could hear on the floors that wasn't that way in the 80s or the 90s, and maybe David Savona, who was the one, or Litto, who was there in the beginning. And I see the photos of your factory. I take my hat off. What it was and what it is. You invest in the people. The people are our greatest resource. Hands down, it's not the tobacco, it's not how many years or how many generations. It's the people. If you could connect the soil, the earth, the leaf, the tradition, into the hands of that artisan, they can create magic, and that's what we strive to do every day. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Let me just answer first.
Very specific.
I'll answer first. Where would I like to see in 10 years? Exactly where it is today. Because I know if we stay here, there's only one direction to go, is up. And it scares the shit out of me. You know, and I remember our friend, gotta give the guy credit, man, he's pretty fucking cool. Rafael, he was at Cigar Aficionado, we had a big panel, we all go every year, we're invited. And he goes up there with his sexy Cuban American accent. He's got the fucking look and the glasses and all the colors and all that shit. I think he could sell a flashlight to a blind man. But anyway.
He's a star.
And, you know, they asked him a question, who's your biggest competitor? People thought he would mention a brand name or mention another country or whatever. He said, the U.S. government, my biggest competitor. And you know what? For someone who claims that he came in a raft, I think that's a sales presentation, because I heard he was a doctor in New Jersey or whatever. But he's cool. But he says something that is the truth. And you ask, the U.S. the guy we're going to see about. Remember, her job one is sell the story. But it's true. The U.S. government, we fight like hell. How would I like to see it? Like we are right now. In a bubble, like that bubble in the Wizard of Oz. That bubble that protects our industry. Because I know that there's only one way to go, it's up. And we have a lot to accomplish. But I think we have the will, we have the experience, and I think with the support of everybody, we would have what's necessary, the funds, to make a difference in this world.
Presidente?
I wanted you to talk first.
You know, I don't know if you agree with me, but with the great growers around the world and the materials that we have today to work with, man, I know this is the golden age of cigars for all of you, for consumers, including me. I'm a consumer too. The materials that we have as blenders today, as cigar manufacturers, we live in paradise. There's better and better material to work with, like just as time goes by, it just keeps getting better. And we'll enjoy that very much. So, to answer your question, yeah, it just continues to get better. I don't know how better it can get, but because right now, it's an amazing time for cigars. okay? And hopefully it will continue to get better, okay? But right now, this is a blessing to make cigars. As a cigar smoker myself, it is a blessing to smoke cigars. Fuente Family Foundation, I don't know how many of you have been there. Man, fuck yeah. Education, what these people have done for families, there's no way to explain that. There's no way, nobody talks well enough to describe what these people have done. PROCIGAR, and somebody was telling me that it's the end of this, that we have taken a lot of time. We are the best, most sophisticated cigar festival in the world right now. Unfortunately, Cuba has suspended or postponed. And guess what? Right now, we are at the top, but I'm competing with PROCIGAR. I want to make PROCIGAR better next year than it was this year. And the next year after that, I'm going to make it better than next year. We are competing with ourselves right now. As good as it is, I want it better. I will continue to get better. And I personally, and Carlito, want to thank you for taking your time to come and listen to what we have to say. So thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I didn't know what I was walking into, but you know what? I said, well, as long as I'm close to Litto and I give him a hug and everything, and he respects this old man, maybe I will survive. but I had a great time, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your collaboration, to be involved. This was fun. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and thank you very much for being patient and sticking this out. I know it's long, but I love you all. Thank you. God bless you. So, thank you so much for your attention and everybody.